All right. Thank you all so much for taking the time to show up this evening or this morning, whatever time it is where you are. I know we've got some folks tuning in from Australia, someone from Germany, and it's the middle of the night, someone from Canada, and I'm down in the States. So we're all over the world right now. If you're tuning in for the replay as well, thank you so much. And ultimately, thank yourself for taking the time to show up for your healing journey. The things that you're going to learn in this 60 to 90-minute workshop, if you truly implement them into your daily life, they have the capacity to completely transform your life. That's why my slogan for Honest Mastery is Master Your Mind, Transform Your Life, because that is truly what's possible. So before we dive in, let's just take a moment to ground in together, coming into a comfortable seat or remaining comfortable in your bed if it's 1:30 in the morning in Germany. Softly closing down the eyes if that's available to you. And just taking a moment to tune into your body. Becoming aware of every point that is making contact with the earth. Becoming aware of the space, the air that surrounds your skin. Noticing if there's any little spots in your body that are calling for your attention in this moment. And just being aware. Gently bringing your awareness to your breath without altering it, just noticing, where is your breath in this moment? Can you slow it down? Can you elongate your exhales? Notice how that feels. Then once again, returning to that place of gratitude, thanking yourself for showing up today, thanking yourself for dedicating this time to your healing journey. What you get out of something is directly proportional to what you put into it. So I really encourage you to go all out. We're going to be doing some reflections. We're going to be diving in and asking ourselves some questions. And the more that you participate, the more you'll get out of this at the end. You can gently open your eyes, come back into the space. If you've got something to write with, you may want to take some notes. That's amazing. If you're watching the replay and you don't have that set up, maybe just press pause, go and grab a notebook, and then come back and let's get started. All right, figuring out how to work the slides over this one. There we go. So, hi everyone. I believe you all know me already, but my name is Carly, and I am a holistic mental wellness coach who empowers high achievers to naturally heal their mind so they can overcome anxiety, step into confidence and self-love, and feel like themselves again. Now, I have created a program called the 8 Simple Steps to Naturally Heal Anxiety, which is based on my experience of what it takes to truly heal. And this is essentially the introduction to that program. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit more of my backstory and be a little bit vulnerable. And this isn't to look for sympathy. This isn't anything like that. It's so that you guys can understand what is possible in terms of healing completely naturally. So my journey with mental health began at a very young age. The age of 12 is what I say was my darkest days. And over the years, I have been held back by crippling anxiety, deep insecurities, and a profound lack of self-love. I experienced disordered eating and substance abuse as a way of trying to have some control and trying to numb the feelings that I was experiencing. And at the age of 12, I actually planned on taking my own life. I can talk about this very openly now because I have done a lot of work, which is exactly what I teach in my program, to come to really accept and understand and move beyond these experiences that I've had. So these days, I have learned to naturally overcome all of the darkness that I've faced. I am confident, in love with myself, and proud of who I am. I wake up every day excited about the life that I live that is aligned with my purpose. And at the moment, I'm traveling the world with the love of my life and building the business of my dreams. And I share this because no matter where you're currently at, no matter what you're currently going through, no matter what your mental health is looking like at the moment, all of your wildest dreams are possible as well. It starts with healing and building that confidence, and then you can truly accomplish anything. So, I want to do a little bit of a vulnerability exercise about how anxiety is actually affecting your life. So, we're going to play almost like never have I ever. We can all put up 5 fingers. We're going to play like put a finger down. So we're ready. Put a finger down if you often feel insecure, like people are judging you. Put a finger down if you tend to question your relationships, wondering if the other person actually loves you. Put a finger down if you often feel stressed, restless, or on edge. Put another one down if you have trouble falling or staying asleep. Thank you for showing me that. I love the vulnerability. Put another finger down if you struggle with digestive issues. This could be bloating, constipation, diarrhea, any kinds of digestive issues. And if you've got any more fingers left, put another one down if you've tried therapy and other tactics, but you still haven't found true healing. Yeah, I see you, Pia, and I would have been in the exact same boat a few years ago. And these a lot of times you might look at a list like this and think these things seem so unrelated, but actually, anxiety is so multifaceted, and our minds and bodies are so interrelated that anxiety actually affects every single area that I just mentioned. And we'll dive into those in a little bit, but that just gives you an idea. So now I want you thinking about that exercise. I want you to take a moment to reflect on how is anxiety negatively affecting your life. And before you do that, I just want to emphasize that everyone experiences anxiety from time to time to time. It's a very normal emotion. It was, we evolved being able to experience anxiety because it can save our lives at times. If you need to run from a saber-toothed tiger and you need that boost of like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I need to really be on and adrenaline needs to be pumping. And that's where the anxiety came from. But these days, it's like we can't turn it off. It's like we don't know when there's no longer a tiger chasing us. And a lot of times we might always just feel like there might be a tiger around the corner. And that's the kind of chronic and lasting anxiety that's not serving us. And that's what we need to learn to heal from. So take a couple of moments and reflect on this. How is anxiety negatively affecting your life at this stage? Now, if anyone is feeling like being vulnerable, feeling like sharing what came up, feel free to type in the chat. What is one way that anxiety is negatively affecting your life? Do, 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 do. See, normally I do these workshops in person, and I can see everybody's face, and I can call people out, and we go around the circle and we share. This is challenging because we're hiding behind screens. Will anybody be vulnerable? Hmm. Harley said, stops me from socializing in group situations and potentially making great new friends. That's a beautiful reflection. Pia said, constantly worrying about things that I have no control over, causing more stress than I can manage most days. Mhm. And the fact that you're aware of it, that you're aware that you're worrying about these things you have no control over, that really is the place where you can start to shift that and start to change that worry into acceptance. Because a lot of the times we just don't have control. When we can come from a place of acceptance, it can really help to alleviate that anxiety. Okay. So, as we've mentioned, it is all connected. Our bodies, our minds, our spirits, our energy is all connected. And the good news here is that when you start to heal one aspect of your life, there's a ripple effect that spills into every other aspect. Even though we're here talking about anxiety, when you really do this work, it heals your digestion as well. It makes you able to sleep better. It ripples into every other area. You can have deeper relationships. It's all so connected. And this diagram here is of the vagus nerve, which is just a beautiful example of how interconnected our bodies are, and how when the vagus nerve is on red alert, essentially, it increases our heart rate, it increases our breathing, it slows our digestion. And that's just one example of how interconnected our bodies really are with our minds. This was a quote from someone who I did some like a vagus nerve release routine with. She said, I haven't felt this open and amazing maybe in my whole life. I'm crediting it to the vagus routine you taught me. And this was like a month after we did that work together, and she was still experiencing the benefits and still practicing, which is beautiful. So now, thinking about what that first reflection was about how anxiety is negatively affecting your life, take another moment to reflect on what could your life look like if anxiety no longer held you back. Often, when we're prompted with a question like this, we get a very quick, intuitive hit of like our amazing dream life that feels so out of reach a lot of the times. It's like, well, this would be amazing. But what I'm here to tell you is that everything that you initially thought of, all of your wildest dreams, are so possible for you. You are so capable and so worthy. I'm honored to even be a small shining light on that journey. And even you showing up today is taking steps towards your dreams and towards healing. Does anyone want to share what came up for them? Hmm. Harley said more social connections and professional opportunities that arise through natural networking. That's so true. Socializing is a big one, and it's one that a lot of people feel held back by in terms of anxiety. All right, we'll keep going. So let's talk about habits. Now, what habits do you already have that may be contributing to your anxiety? Leaning into familiar comforts that maybe don't serve you tomorrow, such as drinking alcohol, eating comfort foods, and watching TV instead of exercising. Oh, Pia said, spending less time worrying and stressing and more time living and enjoying life to the fullest. Yes, being able to consciously, excuse me, cherish the little moments. I love that. And that I love how tangible that is and how real and possible that is, Pia. Like you're so on the right path to getting there. It's just beautiful. So, talking about habits that are not serving us, a lot of the times we go for the next comfortable thing. We choose to have the drink because we're feeling stressed and it'll take some edge off. Even if I know for me personally, if I even have one drink of alcohol, I'm going to feel different in the morning. I'm going to feel a little bit groggy, a little bit tired, a little less motivated. Some people I know you can probably handle one or two and not feel the same effects as I do. And that just comes to listening to your body. But we know that alcohol is a depressant and we still choose to indulge a lot of the time. Harley said watching movies at night in bed, soaking up that blue screen. Yes, exactly. This is one that I struggle with as well. Even though I know that it's not good for me, I still choose to do it sometimes. Um, so there's always going to be these habits that, we need to work on breaking, but it really starts with the awareness of knowing what is actually good for us and what maybe isn't. And with all of these things that we're going to talk about, it doesn't mean that you need to stop drinking and only eat completely clean and never watch TV in the evening. It's just that the things that you do every single day really add up and have a huge influence on how you're feeling. So when you start to bring in habits that are going to serve you tomorrow, you're continuously bettering yourself, which is such a beautiful thing. Pia recently quit smoking pot every day and has noticed such a positive and big difference in her mindset. That's amazing. That's huge. Congratulations. That's really awesome. And it's amazing that you can already notice such a big difference. Tony said, binge eating and filling up on substances that make me feel heavy. Such a thing. Knowing when to stop eating is actually such a challenge. I am the type of person who will eat every bite of food that's on my plate. And if I'm full and there's still food left on my plate, but it doesn't quite seem like enough to save, I'm like, I'm just going to eat it anyways. And then I never feel good afterwards. And it's like, we know these things, but actually putting them into practice takes practice. Another habit that doesn't serve us is ignoring this body-mind component, thinking that in order to heal our minds, we need to just look at the mind, and thinking about brain targeting medication as the only way to feel better. And it's really unfortunate that in our culture, the number one standard of treatment when you go to the doctor and you're experiencing depression or anxiety or any sort of mental health condition, typically the first thing they're going to do is offer you medication. And that's really only targeting one aspect of the problem. If you take that medication and maybe some of the neurochemical tweaks in your brain are feeling a little bit better, but you still haven't sorted out all of the other things that we're going to talk about, you won't really feel healed. So essentially the habit that's not serving us is ignoring that body-mind component. Canceling plans that you've made because you feel anxious, even though the socialization might make you feel better. And this is one I think that comes up when maybe there's almost an insecurity about feeling anxious. It's like, oh, they probably won't want to hang out with me if I'm feeling anxious, so I should probably just not put them in that situation, which is so silly because that's just like your anxiety feeding your brain, things that are totally not true. And it actually at times might be really good for us to do the thing that maybe feels a little bit scary, to go to the social event, even if we're feeling a little bit anxious or insecure, because we might get there and find that, oh, these people actually still love me and accept me, and it's fine that I'm feeling this way. And then you might feel a little bit better. And this one often takes us by surprise, the feeling anxious about feeling anxious, or the potential to feel anxious. It's so silly, but it is something that comes up. And I guess this one also kind of goes hand in hand with the one above about, canceling plans because, oh, I might feel anxious once I get there. And I'm feeling anxious about the potential that I might feel anxious, so I'm just not going to do it. And it really becomes the self-fulfilling prophecy. Studies actually show that when we try to repress or ignore anxiety and we're trying to be like, oh, no, it's fine, I'm totally fine, everything's good, and pretend it's not there, it doesn't go away. And it actually comes back even stronger. So that healing really has to start with acceptance, acknowledging, okay, I'm feeling a little bit anxious right now. Here's how it feels in my body. How can I, work with this? How can I process this? How can I release this after I've accepted it? So just as everything can be a medicine or a poison, every moment in your day has the potential for healing. So this is looking at now the habits that will serve us. If you always make the next best decision for yourself and think about how it will affect you tomorrow, and this is always going to be different. In every single moment, your best is going to be different. I currently have COVID, so I've spent a lot of the day in bed, and that's okay. I wouldn't do that on a day when I felt perfectly healthy because I know if I'm perfectly healthy, that doesn't serve me. But today, that's what I've needed. If you recognize the interconnectivity of your body, mind, and spirit, the role that each of them play in healing each other, and really take steps to find healing in all three of these areas, If you accept your emotions, acknowledge where you're at and what you're feeling, and choose to heal from a place of love, you will find healing. And I know it isn't easy, but it really can be so simple. So we've talked about a few things, but it's like, how do I actually begin healing, right? And the first step that I always talk about, it has to be deciding that you're worthy, starting to cultivate that self-love and reconnect with yourself so that you can actually move forward from a place of love. It's like when we're choosing to go to the gym and exercise our bodies. If we're going from a place of, I don't like myself and I want to change myself because I don't like the way I am now and I want to be different, that's not actually a productive way to increase our fitness. It's going from a place of self-loathing and self-deprecation, and that's not where we want to be. To really find healing, we need to start from a place of self-love and say, I love myself enough to know that I deserve to feel my best. So I'm going to put in the work to become a better version of myself, to be more healed because I'm worth it. So I know some of you guys are on my list already. I have this guide, the first step towards overcoming anxiety. If you don't already have that, send me your email or pop it in the chat. I know a lot of people are going to be watching this on the replay. Charlie Mills raised a hand. Did you mean to do that? No. Okay. Accidentally. I'll send you this guide, and it's really all about doing daily practices that help you to rewire your subconscious and bring in that self-love, which really has to be the first step. Part of this as well, in the deciding that you're worthy, is recognizing that everyone around you benefits when you're at your best. And a lot of the people who come to work with me are parents, and they say, I want to be the best version of myself so I can show up better for my kids. I just started working with someone today who has a shop, a shop. And it's like, if she's at her best, her customers benefit from that too, because when you're overflowing, when your own cup is overflowing, you just have so much more to share. And that's why healing is actually a really selfless thing. Second thing to do is to just always be making the best decision for your future self. And we're going to dive into what that really looks like when I talk about my pillars of mental health that's coming up. But if you're always thinking about, how am I going to feel tomorrow if I do X, Y, Z? How is this going to make me feel an hour from now? If you're always taking that into account and you're always putting that future self at the forefront of your decisions, you're going to always be doing things that benefit you later. And that doesn't mean you're never, obviously you need to be enjoying this moment and doing what is good for you right now, but it's doing the things that are good for you now and will also serve you later, instead of just doing the thing that's comfortable now, but isn't going to feel good later. And another really important piece of healing, and this also ties in with the self-love, is actually investing in your healing journey. And like I said at the very beginning of this workshop, the more energy you put into something, the more you'll get out of it. And when you're choosing to invest time and energy and finances into your healing journey, you will get that much more out of it. And this can look like paying for that yoga membership and showing up, dedicating your time to that, because you know that's good for you. This can look like hiring a therapist or a coach, getting that program that you know is really going to serve you and is going to help you in the long run. When we invest in ourselves, an energetic shift happens. And it's like our subconscious is then forced to accept, okay, I am worthy. I'm doing this thing for myself and I'm worthy of doing this thing. So it's a really, really beautiful, energetic shift to make, to start investing in your healing journey. You are worthy. And that's ultimately where this has to start. And when I do this workshop in person, I like to have everyone close their eyes and speak into the circle, I am worthy. Now, I know we're all in our own spaces right now, but I encourage all of you, if you feel comfortable, to turn your microphone on, and I can even count us down, and we can all say together, I am worthy. Speaking these words is such a powerful thing. We are what we think. And when we're speaking those are the only thoughts that can even handle being in our brain, because that's what's real when we're speaking it. So Harley typed in the chat, I am worthy. All right, everyone's still muted, but say to yourself, yes, Pia, I am worthy. All caps. I love it. You are. Say it out loud to yourself. I am worthy, because you are, and really feel and embody that energy. You know, it starts with knowing on an intellectual level. Tony's got her mic on.
I am worthy.
You are worthy. Yes.
I
I
am
am enough.
worthy.
You
I
are
am
so,
enough.
oh, I love it. You are more than enough.
Mm. I am deserving.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love it. I love that energy. You guys are amazing. So we're going to dive into what I call my 7 pillars of mental health. And this is essentially when I talk about, always making the next best decision for yourself, it's like, what does that actually mean? How do I know if I'm making a good decision? So we're going to dive into a little bit of the science behind a lot of these pillars and why they're related to anxiety and how you can find healing by implementing these things. Now, these things are really the maintenance piece. And we really get to these pillars in like steps 4 and 5 of my 8-step program, because there is some back work of, that self-love piece, the acceptance of our past, and some other things that have to be worked through. But I teach this stuff because in the workshops, because for some of you, this will be enough to bring these pillars in and to be implementing these in your daily life. This will be enough. Some of you might need more guidance in working through those first stages. And that's when my program is really beneficial. But let's dive into each of these. So you may like to write these down. It's okay if you don't get all of them at first, because we're going to go through each one individually. But essentially what I've found is these pillars are almost like table legs. Let's picture a huge table. It has 7 legs. When all those legs are intact, things are working well. Maybe you can lose one of those legs and not pay too much attention to it for a little bit. But if you start to take out too many of those legs, all of a sudden it's like the table's falling over. And you're like, how did I get to this space of now I haven't exercised in a few days and my sleep is off because I haven't been exercising, and I decided to eat junk food because I'm tired and groggy because I haven't been sleeping well. And it's like they all are related to each other, and they're all so integral for how our minds are actually feeling. So I found in reflecting on my healing journey that when all of these 7 pillars are intact, I'm feeling great and I'm thriving. And when I start to let some of them slip, that's when I can find myself falling into a rut. So this is really the maintenance piece. This is like my medicine, my number 1 priority every single day. I'm making sure that I'm taking these things into account as I move through my life and as I make those decisions for myself. So let's talk about exercise. So, so, so important. And yes, we know that exercise is great for our bodies. It's great for our hearts, our lungs, our muscles. But ultimately, I exercise to keep my brain healthy. Because when we exercise, we release endorphins. And these are so essential for us to feel good. We essentially, when we're exercising, we give ourselves this like bubble bath, our brain, this bubble bath of feel good molecules that are so essential for mental clarity, for decision making, for feeling sharp, feeling happy. Notice the next time that you go to exercise how you feel mentally before versus after, and physically as well. Some of us get a physical energetic boost from exercise. I'm one of those people. I know that my partner doesn't love to exercise in the morning because he feels tired afterwards. So you have to figure out, what works for you. But something that's really, really cool about exercise is that double-blind studies have actually found that 20 minutes of daily exercise, and specifically cardio exercise, are shown to be as effective as leading antidepressants. Let that sink in for a second. When you go to the doctor and you're struggling with depression, the first course of action should be 20 minutes of daily exercise and see how that affects your brain. And I know that this is one that can be so challenging to motivate yourself to do if you're in a place where you're not already feeling great, but it is one of the most important things you can do for yourself. And it's very easy to bring movement in that actually changes our biochemistry in our body. Um, there's a lot of research on like power poses. You may have seen there was a TED talk that went around a little while ago on power poses. And essentially, just holding your hands in the air, maybe even making a fist, but just doing this for 2 minutes. And that can feel like a long time. Your arms will get tired. But doing that for 2 minutes changes the chemistry in your body. So isn't that a beautiful tool to have to be, it increases your endorphins and your testosterone and your adrenaline and these things that are really good in at least small doses to help us feel well. So that's a beautiful tool that you can bring into your life when you're like, I'm feeling a bit sluggish, I'm feeling unmotivated. Put your arms in the air for 2 minutes, set a timer, and do that for yourself if you don't feel like you have 20 minutes to go and do some exercise right now. After this workshop, I will be sending you guys a gentle anxiety releasing yoga practice that you can use. And it is very gentle. It's not going to get your heart rate up, but it is still going to get your body moving. And that's where it starts. Sleep. Elusive sleep. When we have a restless night of sleep, when we have a poor night of sleep, we don't only feel those effects the next day, but we feel them at least 2 days after, and sometimes a week or more, that we're still feeling those negative effects in our body. When we have a poor sleep, you feel cloudy in the morning. It also is really a lot harder for your body to digest when you're not well rested. There's so much research that goes into the importance of sleep. And the thing about our culture is that even though we're aware of this on that intellectual level, as a culture, we don't really embody the importance of sleep. It's like when you say that you're busy and you're doing all these things and maybe you don't have time to rest, people are like, oh, good, you're busy. And it's like, well, yeah, cool, I guess that's good. We need on average 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. A lot of people are getting barely 6 and thinking that that's enough. And this is different person to person, and it's also different season to season. And that's something I'll get into when I talk about connection to nature. But you really need to allow yourself the space to listen to your body and learn what feels good for you. I know for me in the summer, I'm a 8-ish hour kind of sleep kind of gal. But in the winter, I need 9 to 10. When the sun is not up for as long, I need a lot more sleep. And I know that most humans, if not all humans, are exactly the same, because that's how we would have evolved, is waking and sleeping with the sun and being up when the sun is up and going to sleep when it's not. And again, this is kind of bringing in that nature piece, which I'll talk about more in a bit. But learning to prioritize your sleep is huge. And some ways that you can actually bring this in to start to allow yourself a more restful sleep. Avoid eating big meals at least 2 hours before bed, because this not only disrupts your sleep, but it also disrupts your digestion. And then you might be feeling a bit groggy in the morning and a bit like you've still got food that's undigested in your stomach, and it's not a good time for either of those things. Avoiding screens, and I know this is one of the habits we talked about, is watching screens at nighttime. Avoiding screens at least 1 hour before bed, but if you're having a hard time sleeping, up to 3 hours before bed, turning off that blue light. And tuning into your circadian rhythm is a huge one. Allowing yourself to get sunlight in the morning, allowing yourself to watch the sunrise and watch the sunset. It's not only beautiful, but it does really wonderful things for our sleep hormones, for our melatonin production and suppression. Getting that sunlight when we need it and when we're tuning in with the earth and with the sun is such a beautiful thing for your body to help you sync up. Another really powerful tool that I like to use for sleep is something called Yoga Nidra. And I have an app. I'll type it in the chat. It's called Insight Timer. It's a free meditation app, and they have so many beautiful yoga nidras. And I just go to the little sleep icon, I press play on my favorite one, and I barely ever make it through, because it's this tool that actually helps you to induce sleep organically. So sleep is really important, and I hope those are some ways that you can help get a more restful sleep. Nutrition. So this is one that's often, I think, downplayed the importance of when it comes to mental health. You actually have an entire nervous system in your gut, the enteric nervous system. And this is actually where the majority of both your serotonin and dopamine are produced. So when your gut health is out of whack, it has a direct effect on your brain health. And vice versa, like we talked about that vagus nerve, the mind body connection there. When your brain health isn't quite sorted out, when your mental health is not quite clear, that has an effect on your gut as well. Now, knowing what to eat and when is very, very person specific, but the best advice that I can give is to try your best to eat seasonally, to eat locally. And if you're eating locally, you'll be eating seasonally as well, and to avoid processed foods as much as possible. And this is probably harder these days than ever in the history of mankind, because we have just an abundance of processed foods in the grocery stores, and everything is wrapped in plastic and filled with palm oils and all these things that we really shouldn't be eating. But do your best and give yourself grace and allow yourself to just do your best and let that be enough. It's also worth noting that how we eat is equally as important as what we're eating. And even if you're eating like a greasy McDonald's hamburger, allow yourself to be grateful for that food, to recognize the miracles that had to happen to bring that food to your plate, to, practice gratitude for the farmers and for everyone along the distribution chain and for everything that had to happen to bring that food to you, and acknowledge the nutritional benefits in whatever you're eating. It's a really powerful practice to take a moment of mindfulness before you eat and just give thanks for that food. And it will actually do better things for your body when you eat from that place of calm and gratitude and feeling good already. Now, we talked before about the relationship. I'm just going to wipe my nose. Excuse me. About the relationship between bloating and constipation and diarrhea and these digestive issues and anxiety and mental health. And for a long time, the gold standard for IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, which is when you tend to have a lot of those experiences, the bloating, the constipation, the diarrhea, the gold standard treatment has been this low FODMAP diet, which is essentially a diet where you're removing this class of sugars that are very fermenting in your gut. So that's been the standard. And recently, studies show that hypnotherapy is actually proving to be as effective for IBS treatment as this low FODMAP diet. I can tell you firsthand that it works because I used to struggle with digestive issues. I used this app that's all about hypnotherapy for IBS, and I don't even think about it anymore because I barely have any of those issues anymore. It's the change is dramatic. And I haven't changed my diet at all. It was solely focused on working on my mind and training my subconscious, and it has healed my gut. So that is a really powerful thing. If that's something that you're struggling with, bringing in that mindfulness around eating will go a long way. Meditation and mindfulness. Modern science is really just proving what ancient scriptures have been saying since the beginning of time. There's so much research that shows the benefits of meditation in, having that mental clarity, better decision making, better sleep, higher immune system strength, just so many things, more clear communication. Meditation is an amazing tool for learning to control our minds. And I feel like there's a lot of misunderstanding in our culture about what meditation actually is. You're never going to be able to clear your mind, and that is totally okay. So let's just throw that idea out the window if you think I can't meditate because my mind is always going. Same. You hear how fast I'm talking right now? My mind is going even faster, a million miles a minute, all the time. But I still meditate every single day, and I still make this a really integral part of my practice. And really what that means is it's taking a moment to just sit in and notice and observe what is real in this moment. Where is my breath? Where is my body? Where am I experiencing sensations? It's observing without attachment. That is the practice of meditation. And the beautiful thing about mindfulness is that it can be practiced all throughout your day. You don't have to necessarily sit in silence and close your eyes and be chanting ohms or whatever your idea of meditation is. To practice mindfulness is really just to bring your awareness back to the present moment. You know, when you walk outside and you feel the sun on your skin and the wind in your hair, and you take a moment to feel that, that is being mindful. When you take that moment to bless your food and really enjoy every bite and savor what you're eating, that is being mindful. And a really beautiful way that you can encourage yourself to bring this into your day even more is actually to take some sticky notes and write something like pause or breathe or be here now, writing whatever resonates with you in that moment, and stick one on your fridge and stick one on your bathroom mirror and stick one on your steering wheel. But just putting them in places where you're going to see them often, and you're going to force yourself to check in for a second and to notice, where is my mind? Because maybe you weren't actually in that present moment, because a lot of the time we're not. Bringing that back in, bringing in that mindfulness and practicing being in the present is really powerful, because when we start to do this, we can start to notice the thoughts that we have that are not serving us and choose to change them. And it has to start with this, this mindfulness practice before we can have that awareness to think about, okay, I'm having this thought and actually I don't really like the way that feels, so I'm going to try and change that. Bringing in this mindfulness piece is huge for healing anxiety. Connection with nature and source. Studies show that there are a lot of things that we expect will increase our happiness. Sex, money, ice cream, the simple pleasures in life. We're like, this is going to make me happy. And they don't tend to make us nearly as happy as we expect they will. The two things that consistently increase our levels of well-being more than we expect them to are exercise, like we spoke about, pillar number one, and connection to nature. Time in nature does so many wonderful things for our bodies. We evolved with nature. We are natural beings, and spending time in the natural world, allowing ourselves to take in the beauty, allowing yourself to feel the earth under your feet. There are chemical changes that are happening in your body when you're fully connecting with the earth, and it is so, so good for your brain. Now, we talked before about the whole circadian rhythm thing and syncing up with the sun. This is super, super important. And syncing up with the seasons, what you need to eat and how much you need to sleep, and the way that your body probably wants to move in the summer is going to look a lot different from the winter. If you are living, far enough away from the equator that it makes a difference, which most of us are. We evolved as beings who would eat much lighter foods in the summer. That's when berries are abundant, and there's just lots of fresh salads, and fermented foods are really beautiful. And moving into winter, it's more things like pumpkin and potatoes that are available that we've been able to store through the winter. It's darker, richer meats. It's those dense foods that help us kind of wear that like hibernation layer that we need in the winter. Now, as a menstruating woman, which I know some of us are, we actually go through all 4 seasons every single month. It can be a lot to keep up with, but your body needs different things at different times of your cycle. And this is where connecting with the moon is really beautiful. It's tuning into how your cycle is connected, your infradian rhythm, connected with the moon, and tuning into what your body is actually asking for, allowing yourself to rest more when you're in that late autumn or winter phase, which is coming into your bleed. Noticing if you have more energy or if you need different kinds of foods, more of that fresh food, those salads and such, when you're closer to midsummer, to your ovulation. And when you can start to notice where your cycle links up with the moon, it's just a really beautiful practice to have that reminder. You can look at the moon all the time and say, oh, cool, that's where the moon is. That's where I'm at in my body, which is really powerful. And I put the connection to source piece in here as well, because we are all spiritual beings that are having a human experience. And I find a lot of the times that when we're experiencing anxiety, when we're experiencing poor mental health, it's because of this disconnect between mind, body, and spirit. There's a disconnection there. And when we can bring that back, bring back that spiritual peace, bring back that source, it's so powerful for helping us to recognize that you are not your mind. You are the observer of your mind, and you therefore can learn to control your mind. It also just really helps to put things in perspective. And so many studies show that people who are involved in a spiritual or religious group tend to have higher levels of well being than those that aren't. That's also because of community that ties into that, which we'll talk about next. We have evolved to be social creatures. We depend on each other. A newborn baby is just helpless without someone to take care of it. We wouldn't survive without each other. And so many studies show the benefits of strong human connections. Something that's really, really powerful is to have a look at the 5 people who you spend the most time with, the 5 people who are closest to you, and to notice, what is it about them that inspires you? What is it about them that you're like, damn, I love this person? Because we are all mirrors for each other. And the vast majority of the time, they're looking at you and thinking that exact same thing, even if you don't see it for yourself. There are so many studies that show community, the benefit of community. And that can be with a hobby that you do, that can be with a church group, that can be with your local neighborhood, that can be so many different things. It can be even your family group. If you have a strong family group and have community there. But bringing in that community piece and learning to be okay with relying on them and with being vulnerable, especially if you're not feeling great, is huge. Because when you start to open up and you start to learn to rely on people, you'll just have it even more reinforced how loved you really are and how worthy you really are of healing. So this is a really huge one. If you don't currently feel like you're a part of a community, I really recommend that you start getting involved in, maybe it's a hobby that you have and you're doing it by yourself all the time, and see if there's other people who have that same desire to spend time that way, because I'm certain that there are. And it can start with just that one connection, and you'll find if you have that one thing in common, a lot of times you have a lot more in common as well. And this is also really important because we are a reflection of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And if you're trying to be on this healing journey, if you're on this healing journey, it's really powerful to take a look around at the people who are around you and see if they're supporting that, or if they don't really understand it or aren't really about it, and put yourself in the position to be around people that you want to be like. If you want to bring more mindfulness into your day, hang out with people from the yoga studio. There's really simple ways to bring this in, but community is a really, really huge pillar as well. And the last one, which is actually the most recent addition, is taking time for good old-fashioned self-care. And I think this came about when I, was doing all my other things. I had they were called my 6 pillars of mental health for many years. I would talk about this all the time. This is my medicine. This is what I have to do. And I realized that if I'm always on top of those things, but not still taking the time to let myself rest, to let myself say no, to have a bath and spend a night at home, then there was still a piece missing from my routine. So allowing yourself to say no, to stay home, to put up boundaries, to do whatever the self-care looks like for you. And for us menstruating women, this is even more important when we're around the time of our bleed and we actually just need less social interaction. We need more me time. We need more rest. It's really important to be able to say, I'm going to take this time to do whatever I need to do. And only you will know what that is. Maybe sometimes that is that glass of wine, and that's okay. But it's taking time specifically for you to do your practices or have your me time. So time for another reflection. Which of these pillars that we spoke about could use a little bit more attention in your life? just turned my camera off to blow my nose, but Harley has asked, can I name them all again? So yes, the pillars are exercise, sleep, nutrition, meditation and mindfulness, connection with nature, connection with humans, and good old fashioned self care. Which of those areas do you need to pay a little bit more attention to? Maybe there's more than one, and that's okay. Um, this is, this style of healing is really a lifestyle that we're building that will, ripple into every area of our life. Harley says connection with humans and sleep. Sleep's been a big one for me recently. I've been having a hard time falling asleep, and I can't quite pinpoint why that is. Tony says exercise and connection with humans without my mask. Interesting. I love it. I guess you're kind of saying connection with humans in a more vulnerable way, which is so important. To be able to authentically connect is really where that enhanced well-being comes from. Pia says literally all of them, but I love connection to nature. You got to give yourself some credit for the ones that you are already doing, though, as well. I mean, we could all always be better in every area of our lives, but we can't always be chasing that dragon. You really have to accept where you're at. And like I said at the beginning, we need to accept where we're at and move forward with healing from a place of love. Pia said, that's part of my self-care practice, to give myself credit and gratitude. I love it. That's beautiful. Keep going with that for sure. So like I mentioned, each of these pillars ripples into every other one. And you would have noticed while I was talking about one of them, I brought up another one because they are so interrelated, just as our bodies and minds are so interrelated. And finding a hobby that unites more than one is such an efficient way to improve your mental health. And I kind of did this by accident. When I started getting into the outdoors, and I didn't actually know how beneficial exercise and connection with nature and community and all of these things are, that I just happened to be kind of accidentally interweaving into the ways that I like to spend my day. So that worked really well for me. But you can be very intentional about this and think, okay, well, what's, a way that I can move my body that gets me outside and involves community, that I want to try, and maybe that's tennis. Very random example. I don't play tennis, but I know that not everybody is about to get into highlining or rock climbing or the things that I like to do for fun. Joining up with like a local walking group or hiking club is a really beautiful way to do this as well. And just trying to kind of connect more than one pillar in one activity, because that way it's like you can fit more of this healing work in without it feeling like I have to do all these 7 things today. It's like, well, no, you can combine 3 of them in one thing, and then that's your medicine, and it's beautiful. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my program, the 8 Simple Steps to Naturally Heal Anxiety. And like I said, the 7 pillars come into the program essentially in the 4th and 5th step. So the first 3 are really about diving into the deep healing before the maintenance happens. And these pillars are like the maintenance. And again, for some of you, that will be enough, and that's absolutely beautiful. And for some of you, you might need some more guidance. So this program is for you if you're feeling disconnected, you're experiencing self-doubt, and are tired of being held back by your own mind. This program's for you if you're ready to find true healing, to cultivate calm amongst the chaos, and to take back control of your life and of your mind. This program is for you if you've tried doing all the things, but you haven't quite found a recipe for success in your healing journey. And, a lot of my clients have been in therapy for a very long time, but maybe didn't feel like there was tangible steps for them to take forward in their healing. And this program is for you if you're ready and willing to invest in your healing journey because you know that you deserve to feel happy. So in just 4 months with this program, you will come away empowered, fully embodying what it means to prioritize healing, confident, in love with yourself, and no longer held back by your insecurities. You'll be aligned in your body, mind, and spirit with the motivation to show up and do what is best for you, and free from the thoughts and beliefs that once held you back. Now, this program is not for you if you're not ready to make a change in your life, if you prefer a quick, easy fix, because I mean, like all the things we have talked about, it does take practice, it takes work, it takes implementation. It is worth it. It is simple, but it's not necessarily easy. This is not for you if you're comfortable letting anxiety hold you back, which I know seems a little bit silly to say, but a lot of people actually don't want to push past their anxiety and they're comfortable being in a place of just not feeling their best because they've been there for so long and they're just happy to be in that little bubble of misery. Unfortunately, this is not for you if you're not ready to put yourself first and truly find healing. And of course, if you're already thriving and you don't need any guidance, then it's not for you either. Oh, Pia, that's so sweet. Pia said, so she's my client at the moment, and she said, best decision I ever made. You've helped me change my mindset, outlook, and learn to be confident in so many aspects of my life. And we're not even done yet. Thank you so much. It really warms my heart to hear you say that. And you have just been taking such huge strides in the program ever since you started. You've just been playing full out and really implementing everything. And I absolutely love when we hop on our calls and you tell me about, the successes that you've made and the challenges that you're having and just the way that you're still continuing to push through and put yourself first. It's really inspiring. So thank you for saying that. That makes me so happy. So this is kind of an overview of the 8 simple steps to naturally heal anxiety. Oh, Pia said the clearing the clutter is still a challenge. Yes, but I look forward to every call with you. And I mean, like we talked about, that module 3, clear the clutter, it's a big one, and it's not one that is going to be complete in 2 weeks. It takes a long time to practice, and just like all of these things, it's a continual practice, and it's building a lifestyle around this way of healing. So the 8 simple steps to naturally heal anxiety. Step 1 is all about cultivating self-love. It's all about, taking that step to embody your self-worth, to choose to show up as someone who is worthy, as someone who deserves to heal, so that you can move forward from a place of love, accepting where you're at and moving forward from a place of love. Bit of microphone feedback there. Step 2 is all about owning your past to create your future. And this one really came about because the story that I shared with you at the beginning about my past, about the struggles that I've been through, when I first started talking about those things, I literally could not speak the words without fully hyperventilating. I'd be like curled up in a little ball. I'd be sobbing. It was like there was so much of my past, so much of my experience that I hadn't accepted and that was still so triggering and so painful for me that I couldn't move forward from a place of love and acceptance. So it really came back to needing to accept what had happened, needing to dive into my past. And this is really the only module where we look backwards. I like to say that the difference between therapy and coaching is that therapy is very backwards focused. It's very what has happened in your family history, what has happened in your life, why are you the way you are? Whereas coaching, not that that stuff's irrelevant, but we don't spend a lot of time there. We look at where are you now and how can we take tangible steps to get you to where you need to be. So this module 2, own your past, is really the only space where we do dive into the back of your life, your past, and we start to look at why are there still things that are upsetting to you and what has not been accepted that we need to work through before we can fully clear everything out and move forward with that fresh slate. And then we get into what Pia was just talking about, the clearing out the clutter, which essentially at this point, it's like, when we dive into the past, we start to really open up old wounds, and that can be uncomfortable, but is so healing. It's that shadow work. And then we start to really clear out those infections, clear out the gunk. And this is not just, looking at your emotional side, but it's looking at your space energetically. It's getting rid of what's not serving you. It's doing that spring clean out that has maybe been waiting for a little bit too long to be done, so that you can clear out that old energy, get rid of what's not serving you, and actually make space to bring in these new practices and move forward with healing. Then we move into nourishing the body, and this encompasses essentially the first few pillars. That's the exercise piece, it's the nutrition, it's the sleep. It's looking at what of these areas are already working in your life, where can we make changes, how can we bring these pieces in as a priority in a way that fits your lifestyle, so that we can do this maintenance work and really start to bring in essentially that salve that we're putting on the wound that we've now opened up and cleaned out. That continues with module 5 as we start to dive into nourishing the mind and looking at the community piece, looking at the meditation piece, looking at the connectedness to nature. This is where you really start to cultivate those practices of mindfulness, of nature meditation. There's a guided nature meditation I include there, and start to again figure out, like, okay, have you tried meditating? What did work? What didn't? And together we really work on how do we bring these into your life in a way that actually works for you. Number 6 is almost like a revisit of step 1. It's taking tangible steps to let yourself be selfish and to really understand that when you fill your own cup first, you have so much more to give. You have so much more to serve with. So that's where we really loop it back around and work in, what is it that you need to be doing for yourself to make yourself feel okay, and how can we prioritize that? Moving into step 7, we start to take bite-sized pieces out of your fears. And this one is huge. And of course, it can be uncomfortable because that is literally the point. And we wait until step 7 because by now you have a really strong baseline of resilience. You've cleaned out all of these old wounds and you've put on that healing salve. And now it's like, cool, I am resilient and I can start to face these things. Because when we start to face our fears, we learn that we actually have nothing to be afraid of. This one's really powerful. This one was really powerful in my life because for a long time, my biggest fear was actually that I had bipolar disorder. I was so afraid of the potential of my own mind. It's like, being anxious about the potential to feel anxious. I was really anxious about the fact that I might have this diagnosis. And when I finally experienced an episode of mania, which is the first and only one I've had, which warrants the diagnosis, it was like I had faced my biggest fear in the world. And I realized I was totally fine. And it didn't change who I was because I had this diagnosis, and I was still me. So because I had just faced my biggest fear, it was like, great, I have nothing to be afraid of. And I was going on exchange that year down to New Zealand, which was the most exciting and scary thing that had ever happened to me. And I just dove headfirst into facing my fears. I shaved my head that year. I learned how to ski and whitewater kayak and do all these things that for my whole life before that, I'd been like, that's scary. I'm just going to take a back seat on that one. Once you start to push those fears, even if it's the bite-sized ones, even if it's you're feeling that social anxiety and facing your fear is literally smiling at 3 strangers in the street. Once you start to do that and notice that the results aren't so bad, you realize just how invincible you are and how you really can do anything. It's only fear that's holding you back. So we start to really push through those. And then in module 8, it's essentially putting all the pieces together. It's looking back over what has felt good, what has worked well, what maybe hasn't worked, where do we need to tweak, how can we move forward with this lifestyle of healing to continue the maintenance, to continue this healing journey. Because like I've said, this isn't the type of healing that's a quick fix. When we're living with brains that have a tendency to go down an anxious route or a depressive route or whatever that looks like, it does require that constant maintenance to maintain a level of well-being. It's not necessarily hard work when it becomes a priority, but it does require consistent practice. So module 8 is really about figuring out what's working, what's not, where can we tweak things, and how can we continue to bring this healing into every aspect of our lives. So it is a 4-month program that includes bi-weekly one-on-one coaching with me. For all of the modules, there are videos, worksheets, and reflections. For some of them, they have guided yoga classes and meditations and so many more things to help facilitate your healing journey. So ultimately with this program, the work doesn't necessarily happen while we're on a one-on-one call together. That's a really beautiful time to, get some insights, maybe have some breakthroughs, but the work happens when you leave the session or when you finish the videos and you actually apply this stuff to your life. And that's where the transformation comes from. So if you're interested in learning more about the program, you can book a clarity call to chat more with me. We can hash out if it's a good fit for you and all of the nitty-gritty about how it can fit into your life. Before I go on, actually, does anyone have any questions? Cool. Not at this stage. Easy enough. Keep the chat box up. Here we go. So your options at this stage. Pia said, if I know someone could benefit, can I share the replay? Absolutely. I'll send it to you. We can make that work for sure. Yes, I want everyone to know about this. I want everyone to know that this style of healing is possible and it is achievable and it is transformational. And there are people who have done it. There are people who are doing it, and it is possible for everyone. So yes, absolutely. I love that you're thinking of someone who can benefit. That's beautiful. So your options moving forward, you can change nothing in your life and see nothing change. You can go it alone, which again, for some of you, that will be enough to bring in these pillars and to start trying to get motivated and to do the work. Or you can invest in guidance and save yourself years of trial and error. And that was really a huge mistake that I made. It took me years of trying to figure out what actually worked before I found, it is this program, but I had to find it on my own. And it took a lot more than 4 months for me to find it, and a lot of different guiding lights. And I'm so grateful that I now am in the position to be sharing this wisdom and to be guiding others on a journey that hopefully doesn't have to be as long as mine was. So time for one more reflection and thinking about all of the information that you've absorbed, thinking about the pillars, thinking about the steps towards overcoming anxiety, the steps towards healing. I want you to think about, what is your biggest takeaway from this workshop? And what are you going to implement right away in your life? If anyone has a takeaway, you can pop it in the chat. Again, normally I do this in person and we all go around the circle and share our piece. Pia said that I am on the right path. It totally solidified my decision in healing. Yes, I love that. And you are absolutely on the right path, and you're taking steps every single day, even on the tough days, to find that healing. And I know, Pia, since starting to work with you, I've already seen such beautiful transformation in the way that you show up, in the way that you talk about yourself. It's really inspiring to see. So I'm glad. Harley said, the only way to get over my insecurities is to get uncomfortable and not let the anxiety win. That's a big one. To let yourself feel it and move forward anyways. You're welcome, Pia. Beautiful. And just a reminder that each aspect of your life, each aspect of healing ripples into every other. And when we can find ways to combine this healing work, or to combine something that feels good with something that's maybe a little bit scary, it just becomes so much easier to really find healing. So there is my QR code you can scan if you'd like to book a free clarity call, to hop on a call with me and chat about this program, find out if it is a good fit for you. If you have any questions, absolutely reach out. Um, does anyone here have any more questions? Seems like there wasn't a whole lot of question coming up. Seems like no. Easy peasy. Well, let's sink back in for a moment. Pia, you're so welcome. Thank you for coming. Let's come back into either that comfortable seat or remaining comfortable in your bed, gently closing down your eyes. Thank you, Tony. Coming to that place of awareness, of observation. What is going on in your mind? How is your body feeling? What sensations are present? Taking a moment to tune into your breath, noticing your belly and chest expand as you inhale and fall as you exhale. If you feel called, you can bring your palms to touch in front of your heart. Gently bow your head and just take a moment of gratitude, thanking yourself for dedicating this time to your healing journey. The light within me sees and honors the light within you, you beautiful souls from all across the world. Whether you're here with me live or you're catching this replay, thank you so much for joining me this evening, this morning, this day. I see you. I love you. You are so, so worthy, and you deserve to feel your best. Mwah. You're welcome, Harley. Thank you guys for joining.
Woo.
Woo! I'm going to stop the recording.